further contemplation. So I was just going to carry on for a few more minutes. Bear with me on this one, because we are doing all the Vishwambara Murti. The first thing that we need to understand is who is the Ganesha, who is the Ganapati. And there is a lot of research that's happened over several hundred years. And the concept of Ganapati has also evolved, or at least our understanding of who Ganapati is has actually evolved over eons. Okay, the very first introduction of this concept of Ganapati comes in Rig Veda. So some of you will be very, very familiar with this particular verse that I'm going to play through YouTube. I hope the internet works. So I'm going to play that. We will do it maybe for once. It's a 1 minute, and then we will have a chat about what this is. Okay.
गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः। गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः। गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः।
So I hope you were able to hear that mantra. So you will all be very familiar. In fact, all of us will be very familiar with this particular mantra, because any function, any puja that we do, and sometimes you have your pandit or your priest who comes home and who does it, and any function that happens usually starts with this mantra from Rig Veda. Okay, so let's think about this Ganapati that is being celebrated in Rig Veda, second mandala, to understand who this primary Ganapati is that the Vedic Rishi is celebrating. So this particular mantra comes from in the second mandala of the Rig Veda. So the second mandala of the Rig Veda is called Gritsmada Mandala. Gritsmada was one of the greatest rishis of the Vedic times. Gritsmada was his name. And in his family, there are a lot of great rishis who preserved all the Vedic mantras. You have Angirasa, Shaunaka, Bhargavaha, Shaunakaha, Bruhaspatihi, Brahmanaspatihi. These are all some really amazing rishis that actually they have actually preserved that portion of Vedas that Gritsmada preserved. Okay, that Gritsmada Rishi actually saw all these mantras. So in that Gritsmada Mandala, 23rd Sukta is the first mantra, which this beautiful YouTube video has just recited that. Okay, now look at all the, I think we discussed this briefly 2 or 3 weeks ago. Even this particular sukta in the Gritsmada Mandala is also amazing because it's got 19 mantras. Okay, Yeko na vimshati mukaha, 19. Okay, so these are all not there by chance. There are all the inner numerology and Sankhya and the philosophy of numbers that our rishis actually compress in the various suktas. So instantly, now we know that this sukta is celebrating some being over 19 mantras. So then we ask, why 19? 19 must have a significance. That is the first idea that I want to insert in your mind. So now let's look at very briefly what this mantra is actually talking about. Hava mahe. We invoke, pray, we praise thee, we pray to you. Thee, twa means you, thee. Okay, who are you? Gananam Ganapatim. You are Ganas. Ganas means group. Yeah. And of all the Gananam in plural, Gananam Ganapatim. You are the Lord of the groups, is what the Rishi is saying. Gananam Twa Ganapatihim Havamahe. So who is this Lord of the groups? So we have to go to the fundamentals here. Yeah, this is what makes Upanishad Chintana so amazing. We have to go to our core fundamentals. What did Shvetashvatara Upanishad tell us? That there are only three things in all of existence. You have Brahman, you have the Jivas, and you have the matter. Okay, so both the Jivas and the matters are actually Bhutas. Okay, so let's look at this. Jivas are called Bhutas. Why are Jivas called Bhutas? Anybody wants to take that question? Why are Jivas called Bhutas? Okay, okay, yeah, Nita Shishwat.
It's because they have bhuti, means they grow. So that is why they're called bhutas.
Yeah, wonderful, Neetaji. Yes, absolutely right. So Jivas are called Bhutas because they have the capacity to elevate themselves. They have the capacity to progress. Yeah, Bhuti. That which has a capacity to acquire Bhuti is called Bhutas. Okay, so in that sense, Jivas are also called Bhutas, and the material world is called Bhutas, and there is no confusion there because we do use Panchabhutas, right? We constantly say Panchabhutas. Okay? Panchabhutas are the inert matter. Okay, so they are also group of 5. And then you have Jivas, which is a group of infinite number of Jivas of infinite types. Okay, so both of them are Bhutaganas. Yeah. So who is the master of the group of souls and who is the master of the universe? And there can be no doubt in this audience that that supreme Ganapatim, who is the Lord of all the groups of in all of existence, is this Vishwambara Murti, who is Saptangaha Ekona Vimshati Mukaha, who is the Gananam Ganapati. So that is what Gritsmada Rishi and his descendants who preserved these suktas are talking about. They said, you are that person, Havamahe, we invoke and pray to thee, who is the Lord of all the groups of everything in existence. Kavim Kavinam. Among the truth seekers, you are the highest, essentially meaning you are very knowledgeable, you are Sarvagnya. Upamashravastamam, look at this. Shravas means what? Reputation, right? Kirti, Shravas, we know all this word. And look at how the Rishi has seen this mantra. You have Shravas, you have Shravastara, and you have Shravastamam. Shravas, Shravas-taram, and Shravas-tamam, which means it's a superlative. It just says you are the highest and the most reputable being. Upa, and he said you are the highest adorable being. So when you look at these kind of words, Jeshta Rajam Brahmanam, you are the most brilliant among the knowers of the Vedas. Brahmanam, we know Brahma means, there is one meaning of Brahma is called Vedas. Brahmanaspatihi, you are the Lord and the protector of the universe. Yeah. If you take this Brahma as Chaturmukha Brahma, he is his Pati, he is his Lord. Okay. Shurunvan, hear us, acceding to our request. Asida, be enshrined, sadhanam, in our hearts, utibihi, with thy protecting force. So that is essentially the meaning of this first word, the mantra of the 23rd Sukta of Rig Veda, which we constantly recite in various functions. And I hope that that gives you a bit of a bearing with regards to how do we understand when our priest recite this mantra. So Ganapati is Brahman equals Vishwa equals Tejasa equals Vishwambara Murti form equals infinite names of the Supreme. Okay, so this is what we call as a Paramamukya Vritti. Like every word and this word and the sound of the Vedas should be seen as ultimately celebrating the glory of the Supreme Lord. And that is what this verse does in a beautiful fashion. And that's why it's very popular in all our traditions of actually starting a program or puja with this particular mantra. So now to remind you of all this, so why is he the Gananam to Ganapati him? You are all now resident experts in this, and I don't need to give too much details, but I'm just going to quickly whistle through this so that we understand where this Gananam Ganapatim, this Brahman comes in, and where does our Ganesha that we are celebrating next week comes in the grand scheme of the universe. So that is what our rishis want us to think about. Not mundane things of what is going to happen in our lives tomorrow. They want us to have a very grand vision of the universe and of existence. So we have Mula Prakriti, and the Mula Prakriti becomes Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and a portion of that becomes Mahat, a portion of that becomes Ahankara, that differentiates into three types, and one type of Ahankara becomes Panchatanmatras, and the Panchatanmatras then become Panchabhutas in stages. And the first thing that comes in Panchabhuta is Akasha, also called Bhuta Akasha. Okay. And we know from the Vedic philosophy, Abhimani Vyapadeshu Vesesha Anugatibhyam, as Veda Vyasa has given us the rule. Any non-sentient component of the universe has got a sentient component behind it, which is ultimately controlled by this Parabrahman. Okay. So Mula Prakriti is Lakshmi, then Sattva Rajas Tamas is Sri Bhu and Durga, Mahat is Chaturmukha, Ahankara is Rudra, Vaikarika, Tejasa, Tamasa, Ahankara is the three aspects of Shiva, who becomes Pancha Tanmatra, so therefore Panchamukhi. And then one of the Tanmatras, Gandha, Parvati is the Abhimani Devata of that, and Parvati and Shiva, they kind of mix together, and they and the Akasha, Bhuta Akasha comes in, and the Bhuta Akasha Abhimani is Ganesha. Okay, so the Gananam Ganapatim of the Rig Veda is the supreme Brahman, but at the same time in a Mukhya Vritti, not a Parama Mukhya Vritti, but in a Mukhya Vritti, Ganesha can also be taken, because Ganesha is also Ganapati of Ganas. So there are a lot of Bhuta Ganas of Rudra, and he is the head of all the Bhuta Ganas. Ganesha is a head of the Bhuta Ganas also. And also, if you look at the material principles, he is the head. Because the first Akasha is the first Panchabhuta that comes, and then everything else evolves after that. So from all that angle, we need to understand, so there is one Gananam Ganapati, and then there is another Ganesha. And this is where his position is. The Ganapati that we are going to worship next week, this is where he is in the Vedic pantheon. Vishnu is number 1. Ganapati is number 18. Shiva, Rudra, Ganesha's dad, is number 5. Rudra's consort, Parvati, is number 7. Okay, Rudra and Parvati's son is Ganapati. And why? I've told you already. You have Tamasa Ahankara, Tanmatra, and the mix together, and then the next evolute is Bhuta Akasha, whose Abhimani is Ganesha or Ganapati. So his Vedic rank is 18. He shares this rank with few other popular chaps in our Vedic pantheon. Ashwini twins, Kubera, there are various Ganadevatas, Vasus, Vishwakshena. So these are all in the 18th rank of the Vedic pantheon. So I hope you will get that imprinted in your mind, because if you want to look for further evidence, I would recommend you go to Shakalya Brahmanam of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that talks about all the Vedic pantheon. Yeah. So our Ganesha is rank 18. Okay. So then how do you understand the Vishwambara Murti that has been discussed in Mandukya Upanishad and Katha Upanishad and link it with Ganesha? So this is how you do it. Ganesha is a soul. He is a Kshara like all of us. He is an extremely elevated Kshara. We know from that Gita verse, right? Dvayumo Purusho Loke Kshara Akshara Evacha. Ksharaha Sarvani Bhutani. So Sarvani Bhutani means all souls are Ksharas, which also includes from Chaturmukha Brahma to you and me. We are all Ksharas. So if you look at that, what Krishna has said, Ganesha is also a Kshara. He has a body. What is his body? Bhuta Akasha. And he is an atomic soul, and his body is the Bhuta Akasha, and inside him is this Antaryaman who has 19 faces and 7 angas, who is called as Vishwambara Murti. So 18th rank, Abhimani Devata Bhuta Akasha in Brahmanda. So then if he is such a big exalted soul, what is he doing in our Brahma Pindanda? Whenever you think about Brahmanda, our Vedic philosophies immediately go into your body and ask that question. So what is Ganesha's role inside me so that he can help me in my spiritual progress? So that is why we are praying, right? So in Pindanda, he provides number 1, space for us to exist. So Ganesha, he's a Bhuta Akasha. So Akasha, another meaning of Akasha is Avakasha. Avakasha means making space for things to exist. So our bodies and even this Jiva in this material world, I cannot exist without the space. Yeah, so that is one great contribution and the great grace that Ganesha has done on us, that he's actually provided the space under the supreme control, and he's doing a pretty good job at it at this point. Space means there is no obstruction for us to perform our activities. Okay, this means we have space to move around. So he is the remover of obstacles for our spiritual progress and promotes our direction towards the Shreyas. Okay, so it is with that spirit our rishis are asking us to celebrate this Vedic pantheon that we have, that helps us to move towards this supreme being. So just to summarize here, Brahman, Lakshmi, Shri Bhu, Durga, Mahat, Ahankara, Tanmatra, Akasha. So that is the sequence here. And on top of this site, on top of this chain, is our Vishwambara Murti, who is there. So this guy is the Ganapati of the Vedas. And in the Puranas, this Ganapati gets celebrated quite a lot because he does a lot of interesting things in the Puranas. And at the same time, because we have this pinda, we have this body, and we got to move towards this Vishwambara Murti, this Ganesha also plays an important role in that. So what is that role is what we are going to be discussing. And before I close this session, I just want to bring another important link. Look at the 21 entities. Yeah, the 21st entity is the Akasha. In this, you have the Manas, Jnana Indriyas, Karma Indriyas, Tanmatras, and then the Panchabhutas. In that Panchabhutas, the 21st number is Akasha, which is Ganesha. And that number 21 should prompt you with a few ideas that I'm sure will be discussed later. So hold on to that idea of 21. Ganesha is Parvati and Rudra's son. In fact, Taittiriya Upanishad actually gives a very, very important verse on creation, which is worth memorizing. Tasmad va etasmad atmanaha akashaha sambhutaha. Akashad vayuhu, vayur agnihi, agner apaha, adabhyaha prithvi. Prithvyo aushadayaha, aushadayabhyo annam, annat purushaha. So it gives you that sequence, how we as bodies, human beings, annat purusha, here purushas as us, how we have evolved, because all these abhimani devatas have worked with us. And here it clearly says, here this atmanaha means Rudra, akashaha sambhutaha means from Rudra comes akasha abhimani Ganesha. So that is the greatness of Akasha. So now the question is, how and why should he be worshipped? So